Welcome to a tutorial video on C++. In this video I'm going to talk about functions. Functions are a general way in programming terminology to better organize code. They allow us to send data in, do something, and get results or data back out. In C++ they're composed of 5 different parts. Let's look at an example here. Lines 6 through 8 give us an example of a function in C++, and its 5 different parts. The first of which is its return type. C++ is a strongly typed programming language. We always care about what types of data are and what they're doing. So in this case, we need to know what type of data this function will return. So its very first thing is its return type, in this case integer, an int. The next is the name of the function, in this case add numbers. Naming the functions follow the same conventions as variables within C++. That is letters, numbers, the underscore, but you can't use special characters or spaces. So now we have its return type and its name. The next is its parameters. Parameters are what we're sending into the function. And these also, because they're variables, have types. So in this case, they're separated by a comma. We have int a and int b. These, whatever data is sent into this, will become these. These will become the 2 different variables we can use within this function. So a and b, as 2 different variables, are available within this function. So we've covered its return type, its name, and its parameters, what we're sending in and what we're calling them. The next thing is its instructions. These are within the open and closing curly brackets within C++. That is, whatever this function is going to do. It is its instructions, its code, or whatever else it's going to do are inside the open and closing curly brackets. The last aspect of functions within C++ is the return statement using the return keyword. Right here on line 7 we see an example of that. The return keyword and some type of expression, something it's doing. In this case it's returning the result of the expression a plus b. The values a plus b are taken from the variables of the data that was sent into this function. So we're saying, hey, whatever's sent in becomes a, whatever's sent in next becomes b, add those 2 together and return the result. And we know the result will be an integer because that's the return type we've used to define this function. This entire thing, lines 6 through 8, is the function's definition. It says this is the name of the function, this is the type of data it accepts, this is what this function does, and this is the type of data this function returns. So we have those 5 details about this function that defines it here on lines 6 through 8. And the name of this function is add numbers. Let's scroll down a bit. When we look down here at the main function, we see the very similar thing. And in fact, we've been using this function throughout all of these examples. The main function, though, is special within C++. It means start here. So this is where we start code within C++ in the main function. But it follows the 5 rules that we've already talked about here. It has a return type, integer. It has a name, main. It has parameters, in this case, nothing going on, and then it has something it's doing between opening and closing curly brackets. Finally, it uses the return statement with the return keyword, which we see down here in line 17. In this case, it's returning 0. 0 is an integer, so that matches its return type. Now, right here on line 14, we're doing something a little bit different. When we use functions, we call them. We call a function using its name, similar to how we call people, hey Bob, come over here, using Bob's name. So in this case, we're calling the function that exists, it's already been defined, called add numbers, and we saw its definition on line 6 through 8. Right here, we're saying add numbers, and then we're sending data into it as its parameters, 2, 2, matching the 2 variables within the parameters definition on line 6. First one we're sending in is 2, which is an integer and will become a, and 2, which is an integer and will become b. So 2, 2, a, b. The data we sent into it matches the name of the variables within its parameters definition. So we're sending data in, and then we can get data back out. So control shifts over to the function for it to do something. So in this case, we're saying, hey, add numbers, give me back, return the result of the expression a plus b. A plus b, we know in this case, is 2 plus 2. So we're returning an integer result of 4. Then we're using another function, printf, which is part of the standard input and output library. In this case, we're going to format print. The F stands for format. So print with formatting, the result of calling the function add numbers with the parameters 2, 2. That function call then returns the result. The result is then used within the function call to printf. So we can nest function calls as well. And in fact, it's even nested again. The function call to printf is inside the function main. So we're nesting these different functions together and using their results to help us better organize our code and do different very specific tasks. In this case, we're adding two numbers together, we're getting that result, using that result within a function that's then itself within a larger function. So let's look at this code when we run it. The result is 4, which is what we expected. So let's review all of this again. When we're looking at function definitions, that is, we're defining a function, we're looking at 5 different things in C++. Its return type, its name, its parameters separated by commas, its instructions or code, which will be within open and closing curly brackets, and then a return statement using the return keyword. Whatever it's returning has to match its data type. So we have a return data type matching the type of data we are returning. Again, C++ is a strongly typed language. It always cares about the data type and what data is doing, how much space it takes up, and what we're doing with it. So we always have to make sure data has types all the time. So then we're returning that. We also notice down here on line 14, as I reviewed, we can nest these different function calls using those functions in different ways. We can use a result of a function inside of another function inside of another function. And using functions overall help us better organize our code into very specific tasks or small bits of functionality we may want to use again instead of writing it multiple times within the same code. Thanks for watching.